Pitong estudyante ang bigla na lamang sinagasaan ng isang traktora sa India.
May nakaligtas naman kaya sa mga estudyante mula sa nasabing trahedya. Naku, kamustahin po natin ang kanilang lagay mula sa mga detalye ng balitang ibabahagi maya-maya. Magandang gabi, ako po si Ricky Matay.
Ako si Nina Richie Lago Flores, ito ang mata ng Agila International. Para naman sa mga headlines ngayong araw ng Huwebes.
Pilipinas at Canada nagkasundo sa isang cybersecurity deal.
Pilipinas at Estados Unidos pinag-usapan ang mapanganib na aksyon ng China.
Houthi pinakawalan na ang mga bihag na crew ng MV Galaxy Leader.
12 katao patay sa rail accident sa India.
At Samsung inilabas na ang kanilang bagong AI phone. Isang cybersecurity deal ang pinirmahan ng mga opisyal ng Pilipinas at ang Canada bilang tugon sa mga hamon sa seguridad sa rehiyon.
Ayon kay Defense Assistant Secretary Arsenio Andolong, kapwa nangako ang dalawang bansa na mas paiigtingin ang kanilang bilateral ties, partikular sa defense sector. Sa isinagawang inaugural meeting ng Defense Cooperation Working Group ay nakipagkita si Defense Assistant Secretary Marita Yoro kay Canadian Assistant Deputy Minister for Policy Scott Miller para talakayin ang mga hakbang para palalimin ang defense cooperation sa pagitan ng Pilipinas at ng Canada. Ayon sa kalihim, mahalaga ang ganitong mga pagpupulong para masolusyonan ang mga suliraning pangseguridad. Sa panig naman ng Canadian official, muling pinagtibay ni Miller ang suporta nito sa Pilipinas sa pagsusulong nito ng demokrasya at ng rule of law.
Mas pinalakas po ng Department of Labor and Employment o DOLE ang ipinatutupad na mga alituntunin sa pagtatrabaho ng mga dayuhang manggagawas sa Pilipinas. Ibinaba kasi ng ahensya ang Department Order Number 248 Series of 2025 na pirmado ni Labor Secretary Bienvenido Laguesma para rebisahin ang Alien Employment Permit o AEP guidelines at iba pang mga alituntuning may kinalaman dito. Sa pagrebisa ng AEP guidelines ay mas lalakas ang foreign direct investment sa Pilipinas. Ayon sa DOLE, kasama sa pinabagong alituntunin ang pagsasaayos ng proseso ng employment permits para sa mga dayuhan. Kasama rin sa pagbabago ang pinasimple na labor market test at pagsasagawa ng economic needs test.
Masayang ipinamalita ng Pangulong Ferdinand Marcos Jr. na makakauwi na ng Pilipinas ang 17 mga Filipino seafarers na binihag ng rebelting grupong Houthi noong November 23, 2023. Ang 17 mga Filipino seafarers ay lula ng MV Galaxy Leader na na-hijack ng Houthi habang naglalayag ang barko sa Red Sea malapit sa Hodeidah. Sa inilabas na pahayag ng Malacanang, nasa kustodiya na ang mga ito ng Philippine Embassy sa Muscat, Oman. Ipinaabot naman ng Pangulong kanyang lubos na pasasalamat kay His Majesty Haitham bin Tariq, ang Sultan ng Oman at sa gobyerno nito para sa matagumpay na negosasyon sa Houthi para pakawalan ng mga Pilipinong binihag ng rebelding grupo. Pinuri rin ng Pangulo ang mga concerned Philippine government agencies at mga private instrumentalities na nagtrabaho kasama ang mga foreign governments at entities para makamit ang ganitong resulta. Muling pinagtibay naman ni PBBM ang kahalagahan ng mga OFWs kung kaya kanyang inaprubahan ang Republic Act 120210 o ang Magna Carta of Filipino Seafarers. Anya, ito ay para sa kaligtasan at kapakanan ng marinong Pilipino.
Naglabas ang Bangko Sentral ng Pilipinas o BSP ng bagong reporting standards na susundin ng mga sanglaan o pawn shops. Pirmado na ni BSP Governor Eli Remolona Jr. ang isang sirkular na nag-aamyenda sa ilang probisyon ukol sa non-bank financial institutions katulad po yan ng mga pawn shop. Partikular sa mga binagong probisyon ang panuntunan para sa paghahanda at pagsusumite ng mga report. Kasama sa pag-uulat ang mga impormasyon sa operasyon ng mga sanglaan, gayon din ang management and financial condition nito. Pinatitiyak naman ng Bangko Sentral sa mga sanglaan ang maayos na reporting system, lalo na sa panahon ng krisis, public health emergencies at maging disasters. Kaya kapag hindi makatutugon sa bagong reporting standards ang mga sanglaan, ay papatawan ang mga ito ng BSP ng sanctions.
Ayon kay Philippine Navy spokesperson Captain John Percy Alcos, ang mga assets ng Offshore Combat Force ng Pilipinas ay nilagyan na ng Anti-Submarine Warfare or Warware o ASW. Ang ASW ay isang kritikal na elemento ng modern naval strategy na tumutukoy sa kakayahan na mag-detect ng mga hostile submarines na matatagpuan sa teritoryo ng ating bansa. Kung kinakailangan ay maaari ring gamitin ng ASW para sirain o palubugin ang isang hostile submarine. Sinabi rin ni Alcos na target din ng Philippine Navy na mag-deploy ng Surface Action Groups o isang naval task force na binubuo ng maraming vessels na dinisenyo para sa surface warfare mission upang maragdagan ang patrolyang puwersa sa mga maritime territory ng Pilipinas. Ilan sa mga assets ng Pilipinas na may ASW ay ang BRP Jose Rizal at BRP Antonio Luna na may sonars at weapon systems na kayang tapatan ng naval assets ng ibang bansa. May dipping sonars at anti-submarine torpedoes din ang dalawang Wildcat ASW helicopters ng Pilipinas. Dagdag ni Alcos, upgraded na rin ang ilang sasakyang pandagat ng Pilipinas na ginagamit sa pagpapatrolya sa territorial waters ng bansa.
Samantala sa isang phone call, pinag-usapan ni Foreign Affairs Secretary Enrique Manalo at U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio ang mga mapanganib at destabilizing actions na ginagawa ng China sa West Philippine Sea o WPS. Nanindigan si Secretary Rubio na ang pag-uugali ng China ay nagpapahina sa kapayapaan at katatagan ng rehiyon. Hindi anya naaayon sa international law ang mga aksyon ng China. Binigyan din ng bagong U.S. Secretary of State ang pangako ng Estados Unidos sa Pilipinas sa ilalim po ng Mutual Defense Treaty ng dalawang bansa. Bukod sa tensyon sa WPS, tinalakay din ng dalawang opisyal ang mga paraan ng pagsulong ng kooperasyong pangseguridad, pagpapalawak ng ugnayang pangkabuhayan at mga hakbang para sa kooperasyong panrehiyon. Samantala, kumpiyansa si Secretary Manalo na magsisikap ang Pilipinas at ang US para tugunan ang mga karaniwang hamon sa Indo-Pacific.
Mula sa Lawag Airfield ay inilipat ng US military ang mga Typhoon launcher nito sa ibang lugar sa Luzon. Sinabi ng ilang war experts na kayang tamaan ng Tomahawk cruise missiles ang mga target sa China at sa Russia kahit na galing pa ang mga missiles na ito sa Pilipinas. Ayon sa isang source ng gobyerno ng Pilipinas, makatutulong ang redeployment upang malaman kung saan at gaano kabilis mailipat sa bagong firing position ang missile battery ng Typhoon launcher.
Susunod, China ay nabisuhan ng Pilipinas na protektahan ang Chinese nationals.
Xi Jinping at Vladimir Putin nag-meeting tungkol kay Donald Trump.
At Saudi, magpapasok ng major investments sa Estados Unidos. Mga detalye po ng mga balita niyan at iba pa mga balita sa pagbabalik ng Mata ng Agila International.
jak pojaśniło. Earthquake! The earth is shaking! Save yourself!
What happened, Mandy?
While I was sleeping, I heard the earth rumble. I thought it was an earthquake.
I'm going to go up there to investigate.
Listen, everyone! We are not letting that gigantic grasshopper threaten our jungle!
Let's live together. So NET25.
Ito po, kasunod ng pagkakaaresto nitong nakalipas na linggo kay Deng Wenqing, ang pinaghihinalaang Chinese sleeper agent na umano'y mahigit 10 taon nang namamalagi sa bansa.
中国政府一贯要求海外中国公民遵守当地的法律法规。我们敦促菲方以事实为依据，停止捕风捉影、炒作所谓中国间谍，切实保障在菲律宾中国公民的合法权益。
Nagbabala si Chinese Foreign Ministry spokesperson Mao Ning sa Pilipinas na tigilan ng umano'y pagpapakalat ng Chinese spy tag. Hinimok ni Mao ang Philippine government na tanging katotohanan lamang ang ilabas at itigil ng umano'y pagpapakalat sa impormasyon ukol sa Chinese spy. Sa halip ay umapela si Mao sa pamahalaan na protektahan ang karapatan at interes ng mga Chinese nationals na nasa Pilipinas. Sa kabila nito ay umapela naman ng Chinese officials sa mga Chinese na nasa ibang bansa na sundin ang batas at regulasyon ng mga bansa kung saan man sila naroroon. Enero 17 nang maaresto ng mga agent ng National Bureau of Investigation o NBI at Armed Forces of the Philippines o AFP si Deng. Ayon sa NBI, bineberipika nito kung may basbas ang China sa mga spying at espionage activities na ginagawa ng umano'y Chinese spy.
Matapos ang 14 na buwan ay pinakawalan na ng rebeldeng grupong Houthi ang binihag nilang crew ng commercial vessel na Galaxy Leader na naging bahagi ng kanilang kampanya sa pag-atake sa Red Sea bilang suporta sa Hamas sa pakikidigman nito laban sa Israel. Ang hakbang na ito ng rebeldeng grupo ay bahagi ng pag-de-escalate ng kanilang pag-atake kasunod ng tigil putukan sa Gaza. Subalit, sa kabila nito ay muling inilagay ni US President Donald Trump ang Yemeni rebels sa klasipikasyong isang terrorist organization. Ayon sa Houthi, naging tagapamagitan ang Oman sa hostage release. Anila, sinundo ng mga bihag o ang mga bihag ng Royal Air Force ng Oman at sila ay kasalukuyang nasa Muscat.
Gamit ang isang AI video ay umapela si Thai Prime Minister Paitongtarn Shinawatra sa mga turistang Chino na huwag matakot na bisitahin ang kanilang bansa.
亲爱的中国朋友们，在这个特殊的日子里，我很想用中文与大家亲切交流，但很抱歉，我不会说中文，因此我通过人工智能技术方式生成了这段中文视频。我想再次强调，这是一个生成式 AI 技术制作的视频，目的是希望与我的中国朋友们更好交流。
Nagbunga ng pag-aalala ang insidente ng pagdakip kay Wang Qing sa Thai-Myanmar border kung saan pinaghihinalaan ng otoridad ng Thailand na ginamit itong modus ng mga kriminal na gang upang magsagawa ng human trafficking. Naapektuhan ngayon ang tourism industry ng Thailand na pangunahing aspeto ng ekonomiya ng bansa na nagpapapasok sa halos 26% ng kanilang taunang kita. Gumamit o ginamit ang naturang AI-generated video dahil tila hindi raw marunong mag-Mandarin si Shinawatra. Sinabi naman niya sa video na inaaksyonan na nila ang pagpuksa ng mga naturang grupo at hinihigpitan nila ang kanilang polisiya pagdating sa transnational crimes at illegal immigration.
我留意到近期关于中国公民被诱骗至泰国周边地区诈骗窝点的新闻。 已经引发了广大中国游客对泰国的安全问题和人口贩运的担忧。作为泰国总理，我可以向各位保证，泰国政府将所有游客的安全置于首要位置。因此，我已要求有关当局加强合作，共同提升安全标准，并以最有效的方式打击跨国犯罪。 我们将严格执法，打击非法出入境，并为旅泰中国游客提供系统性、全方位协助支持，防范意外事件发生。
Hinikayat ni US President Donald Trump si Russian President Vladimir Putin na makipagkasundo na sa Ukraine.
You've called for a ceasefire in Ukraine. If Vladimir Putin doesn't come to the table to negotiate with you, will you put additional sanctions on Russia?
Sounds likely.
And do you think that the war should be frozen currently along
The war should have
battle
never
lines?
started. If you had a competent president, which you didn't, the war wouldn't have happened. The war in Ukraine would have never happened if I were president. But that couldn't happen because the election was rigged.
Sinabi nitong dapat ay bilisan ng Russia ang paglatag ng peace deal sa Ukraine. At kung hindi nito ginawa, ay papatawan niya ng panibagong taripa at sanctions ang mga produkto ng Russia. Sagot naman ni Russian Deputy United Nations Ambassador Dmitry Polyansky na ang banta ni Trump na pagbubuwis at sanctions sa kanila ay hindi basta magtatapos sa gyera nila sa Ukraine. Nais muna nilang malaman kung ano ang gusto ni Trump na kasunduan para matigil ang gyera bago ang pagpapatuloy ng kanilang bansa. Giit naman na hindi naman responsibilidad umano ni Trump ang ginagawa ng US sa Ukraine mula pa noong taong 2014 na nagresulta sa pagiging anti-Russia.
Well, we'll look into that. We're talking to Zelensky. We're going to be talking with President Putin very soon. And we'll see how it all happens. We're going to look at it very soon. One thing I do feel, the European Union should be paying a lot more than they're paying because under Biden, I mean, we're in there for $200 billion more. Now, it affects them more than it affects us. We have an ocean in between, right? Little thing called an ocean. The European Union should equalize. We're in there for $200 billion more than the European Union. I mean, what are we, stupid? I guess the answer is yes. Because they must think so. But the European Union takes advantage of us tremendously on trade.
Nagpulong sa pamamagitan ng video conference ni Russian President Vladimir Putin at Chinese leader Xi Jinping.
Уважаемый председатель Си Цзиньпинь, дорогой друг, искренне рад вас приветствовать и иметь возможность переговорить по сложившейся доброй традиции в начале года.
Tinalakay ng dalawang lider ang pagpapatibay ng samahan ng kanilang bansa. Isinagawa ito sa harap ng bagong termino ni Donald Trump na nagpapatunay na magiging pagsubok sa mga susunod na taon. Ang nasabing pag-uusap ay taunang isinasagawa tuwing bagong taon. Nakatuon ito sa pagpapalawig ng ugnayan ng dalawang bansa at sa pagpapalakas ng strategic coordination ng dalawa upang maprotektahan ang interes ng kanilang alyansa.
普京总统先生，我的老朋友，很高兴在中国农历新年即将到来之际，同总统先生举行视频会晤。岁末年初是盘点收获、谋划新篇的时刻。今年是中国人民抗日战争、苏联伟大卫国战争及世界反法西斯战争胜利80周年。 也是联合国成立80周年，中俄两国要以此为契机，共同捍卫以联合国为核心的国际体系，捍卫用鲜血和生命换来的第2次世界大战胜利成果，维护两国作为联合国创始会员国和安理会常任理事国的制度性权利。新的一年，我愿同总统先生一道，继续引领 中俄关系登高望远，以中俄关系的稳定性和坚韧性应对外部环境的不确定性，共同促进两国发展振兴，维护国际公平正义。
Inihayag ni Xi na handa siyang dalhin sa mas mataas na antas ang relasyon nila ng Russia matapos magbanta ni Trump na parurusahan niya ang Russia kapag hindi nito winakasan ang labanan nito ng Ukraine. Parehas ng sinabi ni Putin at Xi na bukas silang ibalik ang nasirang ugnayan ng kanilang mga bansa sa Estados Unidos simula noong maupo si Joe Biden sa pwesto. Isa sa mga tinalakay din na paksa ang pagpapalakas ng trade relations ng dalawang bansa. Noong taong 2023, umabot sa higit kumulang $240 billion ang halaga ng palitan ng dalawang bansa. Isang 64% increase kung ikukumpara sa 2021 bago magsimula ang Russia-Ukraine conflict. Dahil rito ay nahaharap ang Beijing sa akusasyon na sinusuplayan nito ng armas ang Russia.
С уверенностью можно сказать, что внешнеполитическая связь, совместная работа России и Китая объективно играет важную стабилизирующую роль в международных делах. По итогам года, несмотря на негативное воздействие извне, удалось выйти на новые, хорошие показатели во взаимной торговле.
Binisita ni German Chancellor Olaf Scholz si French President Emmanuel Macron upang pag-usapan ang magiging tugon ng Europa sa harap pa rin po ng banta ng dagdag taripa ng Estados Unidos sa kanilang mga bansa. Sa pahayag na kanilang inilabas ukol sa kanilang working lunch sa LEC Palace, ay sinabi nilang matatag ang relasyon ng dalawang bansa. Dagdag pa ni Macron na klaro ang kanilang posisyon ukol sa naturang banta ng taripa. Malakas ang Europa at kaya nitong tumayo ng sarili. Wala ring balak ang Europa umanong umatras sa harap ng mga pagsubok na kinakaharap ng kanilang alyansa. Sinabi naman ng dalawang leader na sila ay nakatingin sa kanilang steel, automotive and chemical sectors bilang target ng karagdagang taripa para sa Estados Unidos. Ayon naman po sa ibang eksperto, posibleng nagbabanta lamang si Donald Trump tungkol sa dagdag taripa, subalit wala umano itong balak na ituloy ito.
Sa kanyang talumpati sa World Economic Forum sa Davos, Switzerland, hinikayat ni Antonio Guterres ang Iran na ayusin ang kanilang relasyon sa international community.
My hope is that the Iranians understand that it is important to once and for all make it clear that they will renounce to have nuclear weapons.
Ayon sa United Nations Secretary General, ang unang hakbang patungo sa pag-aayos nila ay ang panunumbalik ng relasyon nito sa mga katabing bansa nito sa rehiyon. Dagdag pa nito na maaaring maayos ang kanilang relasyon ng Estados Unidos kung ititigil na ng Iran ang pagbubuo nito ng mga nuclear weapons na maaaring gamitin sa digmaan. Umaasa rin ito na matatanto ng mga bansa sa Middle East na lahat ay nakikinabang sa isang permanent ceasefire sa Gaza na nagbubukas naman sa posibilidad na magsimula na ang isang two-state solution upang makabangong muli ang mga Palestino.
And the next phase is leading to a situation of permanent ceasefire in Gaza and a situation in which a transition can be established in Gaza, allowing for the reunification of the occupied Palestinian territories and allowing for a serious negotiation of a political solution based on the two states. This is the win-win situation. But there is another possibility. And the other possibility is for Israel, feeling emboldened by the military successes that it has had, to think that this is the moment to do the annexation of the West Bank and to keep the Gaza in a kind of a limbo situation with an unclear form of governance. It is clear for me that Israel is not fundamentally interested in Gaza, it's fundamentally interested in the West Bank.
Nanawagan naman si Guterres na isuko na ng Iran ang kanilang nuclear arsenal at sumailalim sa maayos na dialogo kasama ang Israel at Estados Unidos. Nababahala naman si UN Nuclear Watchdog Chief Rafael Grossi dahil naniniwala itong pinaiigting ng Iran ang kanilang uranium deposits upang maging weapons grade ang mga ito. Iginiit naman ng Iran na ang kanilang nuclear program ay hindi nakatuon sa weaponry kundi sa energy production at malaya itong gawin ng kung sino anumang gusto nila sa kanilang uranium deposits.
در صورتی که از این اهرم بخواد سوء استفاده بشه برای فشار یا امتیازگیری از جمهوری اسلامی ایران، واکنش ما هم متناسب و متقابل خواهد بود. و یکی از مواردی که خیلی صریح و شفاف گفته شده همین هست که سوء استفاده از این سازوکار به این معنا خواهد بود که اساساً دیگه توجیه و دلیلی برای ماندن ایران در برخی موافقتنامه‌های مربوطه وجود نداره.
Dalawang araw matapos ipatupad ang ceasefire deal sa pagitan ng Israel at Hamas, may 700 karagdagang truck ng humanitarian aid ang nakapasok na sa Gaza Strip. Sa kasalukuyan po, nasa 2,400 truck ang nakarating na roon. Leo Velasco para sa detalye ng balitang yan.
Sa katlong araw ng Israel-Hamas ceasefire, umabot na sa 2,400 humanitarian aid trucks ang nakapasok sa Gaza. Ayon sa isang senior UN official, walang naganap na anumang issue pagdating sa kaayusan ng paghahatid ng tulong sa mga nangangailangan. Ang paghahatid tulong na ito ay kaugnay ng unang yugto ng deal kung saan nasa kondisyon ng pagpapapasok sa Gaza nang hindi bababa ng 600 aid trucks kada araw. Nitong mga nakarang 15 buwang labanan, inilarawan ng United Nations ang humanitarian operation nito bilang mapagsamantala o opportunistic. Humarap kasi ang ahensya sa mga suliraning dulot ng operasyon militar ng Israel, pag-iigpit sa akses papasok at sa kalawakan ng Gaza, gayon din ang pagnanakaw ng armadong gangs. Ayon kay top UN aid official para sa Gaza at West Bank na si Muhammad Hadi, may ilang mga insidente ng pagnanakaw nitong mga nakaraang araw, subalit hindi sinlaki o sinlala noong nakaraan.
We had reports about minor cases minor incidents, of looting. It was not like before. It's not organized crime. You know, some kids jumped on some trucks trying to take food baskets. There were some other people tried to take some bottled water. So it wasn't like before, and hopefully within a few days this will all disappear once the people of Gaza realize that we will have aid enough for everybody.
Nagbabala si Hadi na may posibilidad pa rin na may mga problemang babangon sa mga darating na araw. Anya, humaharap ang aid operations sa logistical problems dahil sa mga wasak na daan sa Gaza. Idagdag pa ang galaw ng mga tao ngayon sa teritoryo dahil sa mga kaganapan doon.
Let's not assume that because there is a ceasefire, life is going to be rosy and our work is going to be a walk in the park.
Ayon sa UN Office for the Coordination of Humanitarian Affairs, kasama sa mga prioridad ngayon sa Gaza ay ang paghatid ng pagkain, pagbubukas ng mga panaderya, pagdudulot ng tulong pangkalusugan, pagre-restock ng mga ospital, pag-aayos ng daluyan ng tubig, pagre-repair ng mga silungan at higit sa lahat, ang pagsasama-sama ulit ng mga pamilya. Leo Velasco para sa mata ng Agila International. Trusted, connected, on point.
Sinabi ni Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman ng Saudi Arabia kay President Donald Trump na balak magpasok ng halos $600 billion sa expanded investment ang kanilang bansa upang makipagkalakalan sa Estados Unidos. Sa isang tawag sa pagitan ng dalawang world leaders ay sinabi ni bin Salman na inaasahan ng administrasyon ni Trump na ang kanilang mga reforma ay magdadala ng pagsibol ng ekonomiya ng kanilang bansa. Ayon sa mga ulat, nais ng Saudi Arabia na samantalahin ang mga reformang magaganap batay sa kondisyong inilatag ni Trump. Sa ngayon ay wala pang detalye na nilalabas ang mga bansa ukol sa paggastos ng naturang pondo. Noong unang termino ni Trump bilang Pangulo ay tinutukan niyang mapalawig ang relasyon ng dalawang bansa. Sinabi ni Trump sa kanyang inaugurasyon na balak niyang bumisita sa Saudi Arabia bilang kanyang unang foreign visit kung mangako ang Riyadh na bibili ang kanilang bansa ng nasa $500 billion na halaga ng mga produkto ng Estados Unidos. Nakipagpulong noong Martes ang bagong State Secretary ng Estados Unidos sa mga kinatawan ng Quad. Ito ay ang grupo ng 4 na mga bansang nababahala sa lumalakas na kapangyarihan ng China. Si Marjorie Quintos para sa report.
Nanumpa si U.S. State Secretary Marco Rubio noong Martes, isang araw matapos ang inaugurasyon ni Pangulong Donald Trump. Noong Martes din, nakipagpulong si Rubio sa mga kinatawan ng tinatawag na Quad, isang samahan ng mga bansang US, Australia, Japan at India na kapwa nababahala sa paglakas ng China. Ayon sa mga manunuri, ang pulong na ito ng Quad ay hudyat na prioridad sa administrasyong Trump ang pagkontra sa China. Ito ay sa kabila ng hindi agarang pagpataw ng taripa ni Trump sa China, gayon din ng hindi pagbanggit ng bagong Pangulo na banta ang lumalakas na bansa. Ayon kay Australian Foreign Minister Penny Wong, ang imbitasyon sa Quad na dumalo sa inaugurasyon ni Trump ay nagpakita ng dedikasyon ukol sa malapit na relasyon ng US sa Indo-Pacific region. Ilang beses na ring nagpulong ang Quad kahit sa administrasyong Biden. Focus ng grupo ang aktibidad militar at pang-ekonomiya ng Beijing sa Indo-Pacific. Lalo na ang sa South China Sea kung saan tinututulan ng mga kaalyado ng US ang territorial claims ng Beijing. Nangako rin ang grupo na isusulong ang kooperasyon ng 4 sa cybersecurity upang ingatan ang supply chains at kritikal na infrastruktura kabilang ang tinatawag na undersea cables. Para sa Australia, mahalaga ring tiyakin ang kumpiyansa sa Washington ukol sa malaking AUKUS defense project na nakadesenyo upang payagan ang Australia na magkaroon ng nuclear-powered attack submarines at iba pang advanced weapons tulad ng hypersonic missiles. Samantala, tinuligsa ng China ang Quad bilang Cold War construct. Ayon sa Beijing, paiinitin lamang ng AUKUS Alliance Regional ang paramihan ng armas. Marjorie Quintos para sa Mata ng Agila International. Trusted, connected, on point.
Binigyan diin ng bagong nanumpang Secretary of State na prioridad ng kanyang foreign policy agenda ang interes ng Estados Unidos. Leslie Gumarang po para sa karagdagang detalye.
Humarap si Secretary of State Marco Rubio sa state employees noong Martes. Doon, sinabi nitong una ang bansa sa kanyang foreign policy agenda at nais nitong pumagitna ang kanyang departamento sa bagong gobyerno.
We want to be at the centerpiece, we want to be at the core of how we formulate foreign policy because we're going to have the best ideas of any agency and because we're going to execute it better and faster and more effectively than any other agency in our government. And I know we have the right team to do it. There's no other agency in the world, there's no other agency in our government that I'd rather lead because of the talent that's collected here in this room and those watching around the world. That will be our mission, and I hope we'll be able to do it together. There will be changes, but the changes are not meant to be destructive, they're not meant to be punitive, they're not out of... The changes will be because we need to be a 21st century agency that can move by a cliche that's used by many at the speed of relevance. But we need to move faster than we ever have because the world is changing faster than we ever have. And we have to have a view that some say it's called look around the corner, but we really need to be thinking about where are we going to be in 5, 7, 10, or 15 years.
Ayon kay Rubio, pag-asa niya na pangunahan ng departamento ng may pagkakaiba at integridad. Anya, magtatrabaho siya ng higit kanino man na humawak ng pwestong ito. Una si Rubio ang nanumpa sa gabinete ni Pangulong Donald Trump. Ang dating senador ay kritiko ng China at matinding taga-suporta ng Israel. Ang 53-year-old na si Rubio ay isang Republican na matagal na naging miyembro ng Senate Foreign Relations at Intelligence Committees. Anak siya ng immigrants mula sa Cuba. Leslie Gumarang para sa Mata ng Agila International, Trusted, Connected, on point.
Sa huling araw ng kanyang pagkapangulo ng Estados Unidos, nag-issue po si Joe Biden ng pardon para sa 5 miyembro ng kanyang pamilya. Ayon kay Biden, hindi ibig sabihin ito ay inaamin ng kanyang mga kaanak ang anumang pagkakasala, kundi iniingatan niya lamang ang kanyang pamilya laban sa mga politically motivated investigations. Nenita Manawis para sa balitang yan.
Ayon kay Pangulong Joe Biden, pinardon niya ang 5 niyang kapamilya dahil gusto niyang ilayo ang mga ito sa pagiging target dahil sa anya ay walang basehan at pinulitikang mga investigasyon. Ang mga pinardon ay ang 2 niyang kapatid na sina James at Francis. Kasama rin si Sarah, ang asawa ni James, ang kapatid na babae ni Biden na si Valerie at ang asawa nitong si John. Sa isang pahayag mula sa White House, sinabi ni Biden na biktima ng walang tigil na pang-aatake at pananakot ang kanyang pamilya. Ang layunin niya ng karahasang ito ay upang saktan siya. Ito, anya, ay ang pinakamalalang uri ng partisan politics. Ani Biden, hindi siya naniniwalang titigil ang mga pag-ataking ito. Dagdag na ngayon dating Pangulo na, ang pag-i-issue niya ng mga pardon na ito ay hindi bilang pagkilala ni pag-amin na nagkasala ang kanyang mga kapamilya. Kasama sa pahayag ang pagpapagaang ng hatol na habang buhay kay Native American activist Leonard Peltier. Nagsilbi na sa federal prison si Peltier ng halos 5 dekada dahil sa pagpatay sa 2 FBI agents noong 1975. Tatapusin ni Peltier ang natitira sa kanyang sintensya sa kanyang tahanan. Anita Manawis para sa Mata ng Agila. Trusted, connected, on point.
Tinawag na nuclear power ni US President Donald Trump si North Korean leader Kim Jong-un. At nang siya ay tanungin ng mga reporters tungkol sa mga banta sa Estados Unidos, umamin si Trump na marami ang mga ito. Ngunit ipinagmalaki ni Trump na kumpiyansa siya sa pagkakaibigan nila ng Pyongyang leader.
I think we have a lot. I think North Korea turned out to be good. I was very friendly with him. He liked me. I liked him. We got along very well. They thought that was a tremendous threat. Now he is a nuclear power, but we got along. I think he'll be happy to see him coming back.
Para sa ilang political analysts, ang paggamit ni Trump ng terminong nuclear power ay pag-amin na ang North Korea ay isang nuclear weapons state. Nananatiling tikom ang bibig ng North Korea sa mga pahayag ni Trump patungkol kay Kim Jong-un. Susunod, ano kayang mga kumpanyang maapektuhan ng Trump tariffs?
Samsung naglabas ng bagong AI phone.
At it ends with us co-stars, tuloy ang demandahan. Iba pang detalye ng mga balita sa pagbabalik ng Mata ng Agila International.
Alam namin ang iyong pagsisikap. Dama namin ang iyong mga sakripisyo. Kita namin ang pagharap mo sa bawat pagsubok. Kaya sa kabila ng mga hamon ng buhay, nandito kami para umalalay. Kasi katulad mo, gusto rin namin ang magandang bukas para sa kanya. Hatid namin ang dekalidad na edukasyon at makabagong pasilidad sa abot kayang halaga. Kaya huwag ka nang mangamba. Sasamahan ka namin tuparin ang mga pangarap niya. Maaasahan mong sulit dito ang mga pinagsikapan mo. Sa aming mga makabagong pasilidad at sistema ng edukasyon. Mailalabas natin ang aking talino at mga kakayahan niya. Kahit sa munting halaga, makakasiguro ka na makakasabay siya sa mabilis na pag-ikot ng mundo. Sa new era, karamay mo kami sa bawat hamon. Kaagapay mo kami sa bawat hakbang. Kasama mo kami sa bawat ngiti at tagumpay.
Nagbabalik ang Mata ng Agila International sa pagpapatuloy po ng ating mga balita ngayong gabi. Hindi pa man nakakabawi ang Los Angeles City mula sa trahedyang dulot ng wildfires noong mga nakaraang linggo, ay may panibago na namang sunog na inaapula sa nasabing lungsod. Kailangan tuloy na lumikas ang mga residente dahil banta sa kanilang mga buhay ang bagong wildfire. Alamin po natin ang mga detalye ng balitang yan mula kay Chantel Santos.
Isang mabilis kumalat na sunog ang umaapoy sa kasalukuyan 80 kilometro hilaga ng Los Angeles. Sumunog na ito ng higit sa 3,400 acres habang ang dalawang sunog sa metropolitan area na umaapoy ng higit 2 linggo na ang ngayon pa lamang nakokontrol. Dahil sa bagong sunog na ito na tinatawag na Hughes Fire, napilitang palikasin ng mga residente sa Castaic Lake area at babalaan ng immediate threat to life. Ito ay habang nasa red flag warning pa rin ang Southern California dahil sa extreme fire risk dulot ng malakas at tuyong hangin. Hindi patiyak ang bilang ng mga taong inilikas, subalit nasa 18,600 ang mga tao sa komunidad ng Castaic. Ayon sa US Forest Service, rumesponde sa bagong sunog ang mga bombero ng Angeles National Forest. Samantala, sinarhan ang buong 700,000 acre o 2,800 square kilometer park sa San Gabriel Mountains. Ayon sa California Department of Forestry and Fire Protection, sa pag-apoy ng bagong sunog na ito, kakakontrol lang ng 2 sunog sa lungsod na umaapoy na ng 2 linggo. 91% contained na ang Eaton Fire na sumunog ng 14,021 acres sa East LA. Samantalang ang mas malaking sunog, ang Palisades Fire, ay 69% contained na. Sumunog na ito ng 23,448 acres sa kanlurang bahagi naman ng LA. Kung pagsasamahin, halos sinlaki ng Washington DC ang lugar na inabon ng 2 sunog na ito. 28 katao na ang nasawi dahil sa mga ito ay may 16,000 istruktura ang nawasak. 180,000 ang inilikas dahil sa sunog at nasa $250 billion ang tinatayang halaga ng trahedya. Shantos Santos para sa mata ng Agila International, trusted, connected, on point.
12 katao ang nasawi sa India matapos nilang tumalon mula sa umaandar na tren. Isa namang individual ang nasagasaan ng isa pang tren doon. Sinabi ni Police Officer Datatraya Karale na ganap ang trahedya malapit sa Parthade Railroad Station sa Jalgaon. Ayon sa lokal na ulat, may kumalat na fake news sa loob ng coach na nasusunog umano ang tren. Nagpanik tuloy at nagkagulo ang ibang mga pasahero at kanya-kanya silang tumalon paalis ng tren para makatakas sa sinasabing sunog. Agad namang tumigil ang tren matapos hilahin ng isang pasahero ang emergency chain nito. Mula sa inisyal na investigasyon ng pulisya, napagkamalan ng ilang pasahero na sunog ang sparks mula sa hot axle o brake binding ng tren. Kwento naman ng isang senior rail official na dumaan din malapit sa isang adjacent track ang tren kaya may mga nasagasaan sa mga tumalong pasahero.
Sa India pa rin po, trahedya naman ang sinapit ang 3 babaeng estudyante matapos magulungan ang mga ito ng humaharurot na traktor sa daan. Ayan po, makikita po natin sa video na nakaparada ang isang scooter sa kahabaan ng Mathura-Bareilly Highway habang sakay ang 3 estudyante. Makalipas ang ilang sandali ay bigla na lamang sumulpot ang traktor sa likod ng mga ito. Dito na po mailalim ang mga estudyante at mapapansin din na dumiretso ang tractor sa gilid ng kalsada na parang nawala ng kontrol ang nagmamaneho nito. Isa sa mga babae ang nasawi habang nakaligtas ang 2 kasamahan nito na naisugod pa sa pagamutan. Ayon po sa lokal na ulat, lalahok sana sa isang tournament ang 3 na gaganapin sa sports stadium sa Suron bago mangyari ang road accident. Pinaghahanap naman ng mga pulis ang nagmamaneho ng traktor na nakatakas matapos ang insidente.
Dahil sa utang na hindi nabayaran, isang bahay sa Malaysia ang sinunog ng isang miyembro ng loan shark. Ayon sa lokal na ulat, nangutang ng 500 Singaporean dollars si He Wenjie. Umalis sa nila ito ng bansa dahil hindi nito kayang bayaran ang kanyang utang. Nabalitaan na lamang ng kanyang pamilya na naospital ito at namatay. Ngunit kahit nasawi na si Wenjie, patuloy pa ring nakararanas ng harassment ang kanyang pamilya. Humingi ng tulong ang pamilya ng biktima sa gobyerno ng Malaysia upang hindi na sila guluhin ng mga nasabing loan sharks. Batay sa resulta ng quarterly earnings, naghahanda na ang ilang mga kumpanya para sa Trump tariffs. Alamin natin ang mga detalye ng balita mula kay Yolanda Aspiras.
Ayon sa presidente ng FBB Capital Partners na si Mike Musillo, malalaman kung ano-anong mga kumpanya ang naghanda sa inaabangang taripa ng bagong administrasyon ng Estados Unidos. Makikitaan niya ito sa quarterly earnings results. Ani Musio, maraming mga kumpanya ang gagamit ng kanilang contingency plans, kabilang ang pagpe-pre-order ng imported goods tulad ng kahoy at mga materyales na papatawan ng karagdagang taripa.
Interesting to see as we get fourth quarter reports what happened to inventory levels. If CEOs were right in terms of like that contingency planning, they're going to let us know about it.
Samantala, sinabi rin ni Musio na sa dami ng streaming services sa US, Netflix ang nangunguna. Ito ay matapos magdagdag ng 18.9 million subscribers ang kumpanya noong holiday quarter. Inilathala rin ng kumpanya ang pagtaas ng singil na layong palakasin ang kita nito mula sa ibang performance metrics tulad ng sales. Yolanda Aspiras para sa mata ng Agila International. Trusted, connected, on point.
Lumakas ang shares ng Oracle matapos sabihin ni US President Donald Trump na kasama ang Oracle na mag-invest na malaki sa infrastruktura ng artificial intelligence. Cherry Recolizado po para sa balitang yan.
11% ang tinalon ng shares ng Oracle noong Miyerkules, kasunod ng pahayag ni Pangulong Donald Trump na kabilang ang kumpanya sa mga mamumuhunan ng malaki sa artificial intelligence infrastructure. Kahapon, sinabi ni Trump na sasali ang Oracle sa OpenAI at SoftBank sa isang joint venture na tatawaging Stargate. Ang Stargate ay may balak anyang mamuhunan ng $500 billion upang tulungan ang Estados Unidos na manatiling nangunguna sa pambuong mundong labanan sa AI. Kasama sa mga nais-unahan ng US ay ang bansang China. Sanglima ng halagang iyan ay gagamitin na agad habang ang natitira ay ikakalat sa susunod na 4 na taon. Nagsimula na ang pagpapatayo ng unang data centers ng proyekto sa Texas. Susuplayan ng chips ng NVIDIA ang proyekto. Tumaas din ang shares ng NVIDIA ng 4% noong Miyerkules. Kasama sa mga tumaas ang shares ay ang mga kapartner ng Stargate. Ayon sa isang analyst, umpisa pa lamang ito pagdating sa AI investments. Inaasahan ang kawangis na mga anunsyo ng iba pang malalaking kumpanya sa mga darating na araw. Cherry Recolizado para sa mata ng Agila International. Trusted, connected, on point.
Nakompromiso ang opisyal na ex-account ng Nasdaq matapos ma-hack ito para i-promote ang isang peking meme coin. Ayon sa mga otoridad, prino-promote ng hackers ang meme coin na kilala sa tawag na stonks, isang copycat ng Solana blockchain. Matapos ang ilang sandali ay agad sinuspindi ng ex ang naturang account. Sa kabila ng hacking incident ay biglang sumirit pataas ang halaga ng stonks pero hindi nagtagal ang kasikatan nito at bumagsak din ang meme coin. Ayon sa mga analysts, talamak na ang ganitong practice ng mga hackers at ng mga scammers kung saan ay nagpapanggap silang isang celebrity para i-promote ang isang peking crypto token. Sa ngayon, wala pang inilalabas na komento ang Nasdaq Incorporated hinggil sa issue.
Inilabas na ng Samsung ang kanilang Artificial Intelligence or AI phone para labanan ng Apple at ang Chinese firms na karibal nito. Ipinakita po ng Samsung ang bago nitong Galaxy S25 model na pinaaandar ng chips mula sa US firm na Qualcomm. Ayon sa Samsung, ang panibagong model na ito ay gumagamit ng Gemini AI system ng Google. Higit pa rito, kasama sa bagong feature ng phone ng Samsung, ang Now Brief service na nag-aalok naman ng personalized recommendations at i-display ang mga customized widgets nito katulad ng calendars, news at maging bedroom temperatures. Sa kabila naman nito, may ilang mga tech analysts ang nagsasabing maaaring matagalan ang pagsasapubliko ng Samsung AI phone.
Muling sasabak sa international events si Filipino pole vaulter Ernest John E.J. Obiena. National competitions. Magugunitang noong Nobyembre ng nakaraang taon ay inilunsad niya ang kanyang unang training pole facility sa lungsod ng Lawag, Ilocos Norte.
Blooms and Zushis! Get ready po tayong lahat dahil masisilayan si Maki sa concert ng Bini sa Philippine Arena sa February 15, 2025. Nakilala si Maki dahil sa kanyang mga awiting Bakit, Saan, Kailan at Dilaw. Samantala, ang Grand Biniverse The Repeat sa Philippine Arena ay bahagi ng nalalapit na world tour ng grupo na magkakaroon ng mga stopovers sa Singapore, Dubai, London at Amerika. Ang nasabing grupo ay binubuo siyempre ni Mika, Aya, Colette, Maloy, Gwen, Stacy, Joanna at Sheena na nag-debut noong taong 2021. Ang nasabing P-pop leading group ang siyang unang Filipino act at group na magtatanghal sa largest indoor arena sa buong mundo. Ngayon pa lamang ay excited na ang mga fans ng girl group na tinatawag na Blooms at syempre ang mga fans ni Maki na Zushis naman ang pangalan sa papalapit nila na Grand Biniverse concert.
Matapos ilabas ng legal team ni Justin Baldoni ang behind-the-scenes o BTS footage ng pelikulang It Ends With Us, ay sumulat sina Blake Lively at Ryan Reynolds kay Judge Louis J. Lehman na mag-issue ng isang gag order. Ayon sa mag-asawa, ang pag-release ni Baldoni ng BTS footage ay isang uri ng harassment at retaliatory media campaign laban kay Lively. Anila, halos araw-araw itong pinakikita sa media o panay rin anila ang release nito sa press. Naglalaman din anila ng mga maling pahayag ang campaign of retaliation laban kay Lively. Hindi naman nagbigay ng komento ang kampo ni Baldoni. At sa iba pang mga balita, kasisimula pa lamang ng taong 2025 ay dagsana ang mga tao sa Shanghai Wusongkou International Cruise Terminal bilang pagsipa sa bilang ng operasyon sa home port ng China. Ayon sa lokal na ulat, nakatulong ang pagbalik ng international cruise brand na Spectrum of the Seas ng Royal Caribbean sa turismo sa Shanghai. Plano kasi ng Spectrum of the Seas na mag-operate hanggang Nobyembre at mag-alok ng 3-night hanggang 8-night voyages para i-cover ang maraming destinations sa Japan at South Korea. Inaasahan naman na madaragdagan pa ng higit sa 30,000 na mga biyahero at mga turista na bibisita sa China ngayong spring season travel rush.
Samantala, inaabangan naman ng maraming mga bisita ang public debut ng kambal na giant baby pandas sa Hong Kong. Ayon kay Hong Kong Special Administrative Region Chief Executive John Lee Ka-Chiu, inaasahan na sa February 16, 2025, sisimulan na po ang debut ng kambal na panda cubs na kilala sa tawag na Gazi at Sailu or elder sister at little brother sa Cantonese. Ang dalawang panda cubs ay isinilang noong August 2024 ng 19-year-old panda mama na si Ying Ying. Taong 2007 nang iniregalo si Ying Ying sa Hong Kong ng central government. At sa ngayon, nagdeklara na ng naming event si Lee para ipalaganap ang happy vibes ng panda family ito sa publiko.
Cute. Cute, no? Uy, may knock-knock ako sa'yo. Kahit Webes pa lang ngayon. Sa ayot sa gusto ni Derek. Ayan.
Sige.
Knock-knock.
Who's there?
Panda.
Panda who? Panda who?
Ayan.
Inisin ko muna. Inisin ko muna.
Ito na. Wait lang. Pandara, ha, ha. Happy, happy, happy. Nahuli mo ba? Bakit? Parang masyadong nauna ba?
Ulitin mo nga, Nins.
Ulitin ko na nga. Buti na lang mapagpaunlak ako. Ulit.
Okay. Ayusin mo.
Lalakasan ko. Ayan. Pandara, ha, ha, happy, happy, happy birthday.
Nako, syempre.
Ayaw na nating ituloy kasi
Oo.
baka kung saan mapunta.
Pero maalala ko, sakto yung anak-nak joke mo dahil birthday
Saan
po
sana?
ngayon ni Miss
Diba?
Alma
Ayun na nga.
Angeles.
Sakto.
Nako,
Kaya nga,
sakto.
happy
Happy
birthday.
birthday po, Miss Alma Angeles.
Alma Angeles.
Nako, tsaka
Yes,
yan.
sunod
Sige,
na
wag
siya.
na natin patagalin, Nins.
Tama.
Dahil ito na ang birthday girl. Para sa iba pa mga balita. Subal, tandaan po ha, narito kami ni Nina para maghatid ng balita saan mang dako ng mundo. Magandang gabi po. Ako po muli si Ricky Matay.
Ako si Nina Richie Alagaw Flores. Ito ang Mata ng Agila International. Para po sa mga iba pang balitang nanggaling din sa iba't ibang panig ng mundo, punta tayo kay birthday girl Alma Angeles para sa Mata ng Agila World News. Take it away, Alma.
Thank you, Nina and Ricky. Good evening, everyone. I'm Alma Angeles for NET25 World News. On tonight's headlines. A fiery exchange over the South China Sea. U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio meets with his Philippine counterpart, calling out China's dangerous and destabilizing actions and reaffirming America's ironclad defense pledge to Manila. In California, a new wildfire erupts near Los Angeles, already reeling from recent blazes. Thousands are forced to evacuate as firefighters race to contain it.
The Hughes fire is now estimated to be over 9,400 acres with 0% containment. The National Weather Service has extended the red flag warning through 10 a.m. on Friday.
Across the South, record-breaking cold grips the region with rare snowfall and freezing temperatures, making history.
What happened this week in the Gulf Coast shows us we can't ignore winter either. We still have to be prepared for winter. And that means being prepared for a large variety of conditions, right? More than ever, we have to be prepared to spend a little and be prepared, right? Unless we want to be caught flat-footed.
And in Tennessee, a teenager opens fire at a high school. We'll bring you the latest on the investigation into this shocking incident.
Yeah, back and forth, but now we cannot get a hold of my other son. He's in the ROTC. Apparently, he's with one of the kids that committed the crime. And they were doing their regular jog around the school when this took place.
NET25 World News starts now. Tensions in the South China Sea took center stage as the new U.S. Secretary of State, Marco Rubio, spoke with his Philippine counterpart. Rubio called out China's dangerous and destabilizing actions in the disputed waters, reaffirming Washington's ironclad defense commitment to Manila. In a statement, the U.S. State Department said Rubio stressed that Beijing's behavior threatens regional peace and stability and goes against international law. And this comes as the Philippines continues to face repeated maritime confrontations with China, particularly in areas within Manila's exclusive economic zone. The call follows Rubio's meeting with counterparts from Australia, India, and Japan at the Quad Forum, a China-focused alliance aimed at ensuring stability in the Indo-Pacific. Analysts say the meeting signals continuity in countering Beijing, with the U.S. making it a top priority under President Trump's second term. Rubio and Philippine Foreign Minister Enrique Manalo also discussed strengthening security cooperation, expanding economic ties, and fostering regional collaboration. Meanwhile, just before Trump's swearing in, the Philippines and the U.S. wrapped up their 5th joint maritime drills in the South China Sea, part of an ongoing effort to uphold freedom of navigation in the region. Visiting the Philippines last week, Japanese Foreign Minister Takeshi Iwaya said a trilateral initiative to boost cooperation launched by Japan, the U.S., and the Philippines at a summit last year would be strengthened when the new U.S. administration took over in Washington. Meanwhile, over in China, they called for the United States to stay out of the South China Sea issue. after new U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio had spoken to his Philippine counterpart, Foreign Minister Enrique Manalo, on the phone to discuss China's actions.
中国在有关海域的活动合理合法，无可非议。美国不是南海问题的当事方，也无权介入中非两国之间的涉海问题。美菲军事合作不得损害中方在南海的主权和海洋权益，更不能以此为菲律宾的非法主张背书。中方将继续采取必要措施，坚定捍卫自身领土主权和海洋权益，维护南海的和平稳定。
In a major development, President Ferdinand Marcos Jr. announced the release of 17 Filipino seafarers who were captured by Houthi rebels in Yemen back in November. The seafarers, along with the rest of the crew of the MV Galaxy Leader, are now safe and under the care of the Philippine Embassy in Muscat, Oman. President Marcos shared that they'll be reunited with their families in the Philippines very soon. The crew was hijacked while sailing in the Red Sea near Hodeidah in November 2023. And since then, the Philippine government has been working tirelessly for their release. President Marcos also emphasized the importance of protecting the rights and welfare of Filipino seafarers and ensuring equal opportunities in the maritime industry, regardless of gender or background. He expressed gratitude to the Sultan of Oman, Haitham bin Tariq, for his crucial role in mediating their safe passage. The president also thanked Philippine government agencies and private groups who collaborated with foreign entities for over a year to bring the crew home. This incident, he said, highlighted the need for the enactment of Republic Act 1/2021, the Magna Carta of Filipino seafarers, which aims to protect the rights and well-being of Filipino mariners. And a historic winter storm swept across the U.S. Gulf Coast this week, delivering rare snowfall to cities like Houston, New Orleans, and even parts of the Florida Panhandle. And experts are saying this unusual event is a strong reminder to stay prepared for extreme winter weather, even in warmer climates. A rare winter wonderland in regions better known for palm trees and sandy beaches. From above, New Orleans looks stunning under a record 10 inches of snow. But on the ground, icy roads and freezing temperatures have created dangerous conditions.
What happened this week in the Gulf Coast shows us we can't ignore winter either. We still have to be prepared for winter. And that means being prepared for a large variety of conditions, right? More than ever, we have to be prepared to spend a little and be prepared, right? Unless we want to be caught flat-footed. And since the 70s, this is really the first snow of this magnitude we've seen. So that's been 50 years now. So certainly most people in Houston have never seen a snow like this, even though there was one in 1973 on par. When you go over to Louisiana, Florida Panhandle, virtually everyone there has never seen a snow this hard. So by virtue of this, we don't have a lot of data to say, well, you know, these once a century or once in a generation events are happening more often because they only happen once a century or once a generation, right? So that makes it really hard to do the kind of analysis where you look at lots of data and you can correlate that with climate models and how global warming works and say, okay, well, here's a trend, and it matches up with what the models are telling us. If something's a once in a century event, it's hard to get a computer model to replicate it, right? One of the problems with climate change is that we have to be ready for an expanding envelope of conditions, right? If you're on the Gulf Coast, you have to be prepared for the potential for hurricanes to be stronger because of warmer oceans, more fuel, right? You have to be prepared for heat waves to be more intense, so frequent, and for heavier rains to be heavier. And all these things we're seeing happening. But you also have to be prepared for once in a while you could get a full-on winter storm like we just saw, right? It may not be 8 inches of snow in New Orleans again in our lifetimes, but it could happen, or it might happen somewhere else along the Gulf Coast. So the big, I'd say, interesting and somewhat controversial topic is whether changes in the Arctic might be prompting the jet stream to behave weirdly and perhaps cause occasional outbursts of colder snow to get worse. And that relies on some analysis of the past, say, 20 or 30 years and looking at observations. They're trying to suss out how the jet stream is changing, how the polar vortex that's normally in the stratosphere above the North Pole might be sinking and cutting off over the U.S. And those are challenging analyses. And You also have to factor out that these things vary naturally, right? Over the course of a few years or even 10 or 20 years, you can get periods with more of these and less of these. So is climate change causing these to happen more often? There's arguments that it might be based on trends over the certain time periods, but then if you change that time period window by a few years, the trend may go away. So it's been really hard to establish really robust trends.
Breaking news from Southern California, a new wildfire is rapidly spreading through the dry brush near Los Angeles. And the used fire is currently 0% contained and burning at an alarming rate of 30 acres per minute, sending thick smoke and flames hundreds of feet into the air.
A new wildfire rapidly blazed through an area north of Los Angeles on Wednesday, fueled by strong winds and dry brush. In just a few hours, the Hughes fire grew to 2/3 the size of the Eaton fire, one of the two monster infernos that have ravaged parts of the city. The Los Angeles County Sheriff said on Wednesday that 31,000 people had been given evacuation orders and another 23,000 faced evacuation warnings.
The Hughes fire is now estimated to be over 9,400 acres with 0% containment, with no structures reported damaged or destroyed. We have over 4,000 firefighting personnel assigned to the incident, and we had a very robust ground and air response to the incident that you see behind me. The National Weather Service has extended the red flag warning through 10 a.m. on Friday for most of Los Angeles and Ventura counties. Light to moderate Santa Ana winds will continue tonight and into Thursday. The situation remains dynamic, and the fire remains a difficult fire to contain, although we are getting the upper hand.
The new blaze put further strain on firefighters, who have almost managed to bring two other major fires in the area under control. The California Department of Forestry and Fire Protection said about 1,100 firefighters had been deployed around Southern California in anticipation of fast-moving fires, while the LA County Fire Chief said more than 4,000 firefighters were working on the Hughes fire. Southern California has gone without significant rainfall for 9 months, contributing to the hazardous dry conditions. Rain is forecast from Saturday to Monday, which could give the area some much-needed relief.
Heartbreaking news from Nashville, Tennessee. A 17-year-old boy opened fire in the cafeteria at Antioch High School, killing a 16-year-old girl and injuring another student. The shooter, identified as Solomon Henderson, then turned the gun on himself.
Yeah, back and forth, but now we cannot get a hold of my other son. He's in the ROTC. Apparently he's with one of the kids that committed the crime. And they were doing their regular jog around the school when this took place, and they bum rushed him to a room, as far as we know. That's as far as we heard from him. Our daughter, she was in the cafeteria like minutes before it happened, so they rushed her to a room. We're in contact with her now, but not with my son, so we don't know we don't know what's going on. Hopefully it's just that kid that commit the crime, and there's no other one shooting in there. But so many cops are going in there right now, it makes you think there's another shooter. Hopefully there's no other active shooter, but we don't know.
Right, we haven't heard any reports of that yet.
Yeah.
A tragedy unfolded just after 11 a.m. when Henderson entered the cafeteria, fired multiple rounds, and struck Jocelyn Correa Escalante. Police say a 17-year-old male was also grazed by a bullet before the shooter fatally shot himself.
We had a male student of 17 years old that rode the bus this morning to Antioch High School. During the course of the morning, this individual made his way to the cafeteria where he then confronted a 16-year-old, as we identified as a female Hispanic student, fired, striking her. She is deceased. There is another male, 17-year-old young man that was wounded with a graze wound. The shooter was 17 years old. He entered into the cafeteria, firing multiple rounds in the cafeteria, striking her, and then before pulling the weapon on himself.
The chaotic aftermath was seen outside the school, where first responders performed CPR as victims were rushed to ambulances. One student described the scene inside the cafeteria. This tragic incident comes nearly 2 years after another shooting at Nashville's Covenant School, where a former student killed 6 people in response to today's violence. A community healing event is scheduled, and the school will be closed for the rest of the week.
As a city, as a community, it is impossibly difficult to be here once again dealing with the devastation of gun violence in one of our school communities. As a Metro Schools parent, I know how difficult it is to receive a notification of an emergency operation at a Metro school. I can't imagine how difficult it must be to receive the notification that there has been this level of violence in a school community.
And a chilling knife attack in the German city of Aschaffenburg, where a 28-year-old Afghan man was arrested after fatally stabbing 2 people, a 41-year-old and a 2-year-old boy. 3 others were wounded in the incident that has reignited concerns over public safety and migration policies ahead of Germany's upcoming elections.
German police arrested a 28-year-old Afghan man after a knife attack that left 2 people dead in a park in the city of Aschaffenburg on Wednesday. Police said the victims were a 41-year-old German man who was passing by and a 2-year-old boy of Moroccan descent. Officials said the 3 other people were wounded, including a 61-year-old man, a child, and a teacher. According to the Bavarian State Interior Minister, Joachim Ehrmann, the suspect had a history of violent behavior.
The suspect has been arrested at least 3 times in the past for violent offences. He was admitted for psychiatric treatment and then released each time. A first search of his room, where he was accommodated in the asylum seeker centre, did not reveal any evidence of a radical Islamist attitude, but only medication which was found there that could fit his psychiatric treatment.
Ehrmann also added that the suspect had had his asylum process closed, and while he planned to leave Germany in December, the suspect had stayed for the psychiatric treatment. Police said there was no indication there might be further suspects involved in the incident. Hundreds gathered later in the city's central square to mourn the victims. The stabbings are the latest in a series of violent attacks in Germany that have sparked security and migration anxiety ahead of the February 23rd elections. In December, a Saudi doctor was charged with murder after ramming his car into people at a Christmas market in the town of Magdeburg, leaving 6 people dead.
President Trump has declared a national emergency at the southern border, paving the way for the possible deployment of thousands of U.S. troops. Take a look.
President Donald Trump on Wednesday directed prosecutors to criminally probe state and local officials who resist, obstruct, or fail to comply with his immigration enforcement efforts. That's according to a memo seen by Reuters, written by the Deputy U.S. Attorney General. Reuters politics editor Scott Malone explains.
It's an escalation of the use of the Justice Department's criminal investigative power. Obviously, people who are living in the country illegally or people who are employing those people illegally have always faced potential criminal investigation. This adds a new category of people who could face investigation, which is city and state officials, some of them Democrats, some of them in very heavily Democratic constituencies, and some in communities that have declared themselves to be sanctuary communities that didn't want to go along with federal immigration crackdowns, and warning them that they too could face criminal consequences.
California's Attorney General Rob Bonta, a Democrat, dismissed Trump's directive as a scare tactic during a Wednesday interview on CNN. Still, it sets up potential confrontations with local officials in so-called sanctuary cities.
The first Trump administration, they came out of the gate very quickly with some policies that very quickly ran into opposition in Democratic cities and states. And this is a sign that they're trying to plan ahead, and they're trying to eliminate things that could serve as barriers.
Shortly after taking office, Trump declared illegal immigration a national emergency.
All illegal entry will immediately be halted.
A U.S. official said on Wednesday that the military would send 1,000 additional active duty troops to the southern border. In Mexico, authorities have begun constructing giant tent shelters in the city of Ciudad Juarez to prepare for a possible influx of Mexicans deported under Trump's plan.
And the news continues here on NET25. We'll be right back.
Ang mga maiinit na balita at rumaratsyad ang usapan ng bayan, ihahatid namin sa 100%! 100% ang pagbabalita! 100% talakayan! Lunes hanggang Biyernes! Alas 5 hanggang alas 7 ng umaga! Live na live sa Radyo Agila 1062 Mega Manila! At sa NET25 100%!
Sa NET25, let's get together. Sa NET25.
Digital payments have revolutionized the way we transact. However, as technology advances, so do the threats posed by cyber criminals.
Kailangan pa rin talaga tayong mag-ingat, no? Maraming mga scammers na naghahanap pa rin ng pagkakataon para manloko.
Nagiging mas sophisticated na ngayon yung mga scammers natin. And dahil dyan, yung mga tinatawag nating rules of the game, kung paano ma-detect yung mga scams, nag-iiba din.
It's a partnership between the business and the consumers to really protect accounts and to protect their assets as well.
Online business, an open for business with Cesar Vallejos. Sunday, 9 p.m.
Sa NET25.
Exclusive! Tawad ng kuryente na nakapatong na sa mga bubong ng bahay. Pinarespondihan. Isa pang exclusive. Biktima ng house for rent scam. Lumutang. Ilang buwang ipon. Nilimas ng kawatan. At isang kabaro natin sa industriya. Humihingi ng responde. Nahulog na wallet ni Love Anjuver, isinauli.
Kay Kuya Randy, sobrang saludong-saludo ako sa'yo. Sana dumami ka pa.
Sabado, alas 6 hanggang alas 7 ng gabi. Ito ang Responde. Mata ng Mamamayan.
Let's get together. Sa NET25. Sa NET25.
And now to South America, where Colombia is dealing with a surge in violence along its northeastern border near Venezuela. Special forces have been sent to guerrilla-controlled areas after clashes between rebel groups left over 100 people dead and displaced more than 20,000. The fighting has centered in the Catatumbo region, a mountainous area critical for coca plantations and drug smuggling routes. Two rebel groups, the National Liberation Army, or ELN, and Factions for the Revolutionary Armed Forces of Colombia, or FARC, had been maintaining a truce in the region, but tensions boiled over last week, with both groups accusing each other of targeting civilians. Reports say ELN rebels executed civilians they suspected of aiding their rivals. Meanwhile, the ELN has pointed fingers back at the FARC for committing atrocities. Fear has gripped the region, with entire communities fleeing for safety.
Tenemos unos cuerpos que aún no han sido recuperados, que estamos tratando de localizar con las funerarias que están trabajando para ello. Y el tema de la seguridad, hay una zozobra, un miedo en la comunidad, que ese es el miedo que se está generando todos los desplazamientos. Necesitamos recobrar la seguridad para tener garantías de vida en nuestro municipio.
The Colombian government has declared a state of emergency and deployed 5,000 troops to stabilize the area. President Gustavo Petro has also suspended peace talks with the ELN, accusing the group of committing war crimes. The violence has left thousands of homes empty, turning towns into ghost villages. Some residents have crossed into Venezuela Venezuela seeking refuge, while others remain trapped, hoping the violence will subside. The United Nations reports at least 30 people have been kidnapped, including 3 government officials involved in peace negotiations. Colombia's army has rescued dozens, but with many still stranded in dangerous areas, the crisis remains far from over. A dire situation continues to unfold as communities grapple with the fallout of this ongoing conflict. Meanwhile, hundreds of Donald Trump supporters who had been serving prison sentences for participating in the January 6, 2021 attack on the U.S. Capitol were freed after the new president pardoned more than 1,500 people, including some who assaulted police officers. Take a look.
U.S. President Donald Trump's sweeping pardon of more than 1,500 people charged with crimes in the January 6th attack on the U.S. Capitol drew outrage from lawmakers as well as police officers who battled the mob in 2021.
This ain't the first time that I've been disappointed by the criminal justice system, but in this case, it's one man ultimately who's responsible for ignoring accountability for individuals that assaulted police officers. Once I was out in the crowd, I was beaten, restrained. At one point, an individual, Kyle Young, lunged at me while I was being restrained and attempted to remove my firearm from its holster. All while, other individuals were, kind of egging him on, telling him to kill me with my gun. Another individual, Daniel Rodriguez, used a taser device, applied it to my neck numerous times. And finally, Thomas Sibick stripped me of my badge and my radio, all while I was being, again, restrained and beaten. These are the individuals that pled guilty and were sentenced, and Donald Trump saw it fit to pardon them.
The unconditional pardons come despite both Vice President J.D. Vance and Trump's pick for Attorney General, previously saying they believed those who committed violent crimes were unlikely to be pardoned. Reuters reporter Joey Axe.
This is a really clear signal right off the bat that Trump in his second term is not going to feel particularly constrained.
So this is a big one.
He's going to do what he wants to do without a lot of regard for whether it's popular, whether other people on his team, whether other Republicans think it's the right thing to do. This is Trump 2.0. This is an unfettered president who feels that he can use executive power as aggressively as he wants to. The message, if you want to call it that, to his supporters is that he's rewarding those who are loyal to him, right? But the more dangerous version of that, I suppose, is he's signaling that even people who engage in political violence can be assured that he'll take care of them as long as it was done in support of his political aims.
Trump's pardons extended from the people who committed only misdemeanors such as trespassing to those who attacked police officers, and to the far smaller group who planned the assault on democracy. An attorney for Enrique Tarrio, former leader of the Proud Boys, said he was released from prison on Tuesday. Tarrio was not present at the Capitol on January 6, but was serving 22 years in prison, the longest sentence imposed on any defendant, after he was convicted of seditious conspiracy for his role in planning the attack.
Samsung Electronics unveiled its newest flagship smartphone powered by Google's artificial intelligence model, hoping its upgraded AI features can reinvigorate sales and fend off Apple and Chinese rivals.
Samsung has unveiled new AI smartphones in a bid to fend off Apple and Chinese rivals. The new Galaxy S25 models were launched at an event in California on Wednesday. They're powered by chips from US firm Qualcomm. Company Mobile Experience Chief T.M. Rowe claimed they set a new standard in mobile innovation, and a lot is riding on the new devices being a success. Samsung's preliminary fourth-quarter profit, released earlier this month, missed analyst forecasts by a wide margin. Experts say the firm also faces flagging sales for its flagship foldable phones, once heralded as the next big thing for the sector. The new handsets use Google's Gemini AI system and claim to offer more personalized service. Google DeepMind CEO Demis Hassabis appeared in a recorded video at the event.
We believe the next frontier for AI will be agentic systems, systems that are able to accomplish tasks and do useful things for you. And now, we're so excited to be partnering with Samsung to bring some of its groundbreaking capabilities to the Gemini app.
The question is whether AI services will really prompt consumers to buy new phones. Some industry watchers argue a really compelling new product is yet to appear. But Technalysis President Bob O'Donnell says Samsung has taken a step in the right direction.
What I saw today, to be honest with you, was kind of like the first real working examples of AI stuff that I think normal people are going to want to use. I mean, there's been a lot of hype around AI and some of the things theoretically it could do, but I feel like today we started to get a hint at some stuff that, regular people are going to want to use and that will be truly impactful.
Samsung touted features including its Now Brief service, which can make personalized recommendations and display customized items ranging from calendars and news to bedroom temperatures. The South Korean giant kept the starting price of the phones unchanged at $799.
And with that, we end tonight's broadcast. For everyone here on NET25, I'm Alma Angeles. Thank you for joining us. Good night.